Hi, this is SuperBoo3. As a PlayStation Plus subscriber, I was thinking many people end up getting these games free on Plus and they're never quite sure if they're actually worth downloading or taking a look. So I've decided to make some videos to start looking at the games, and we're going to see if they're going to be worth the download or not. Tower of Guns is actually a roguelike. You start the game off with only 2 guns available. You can use either of them, but you can only ever hold 1 gun at a time on a run. You have these perks which you can also use. Everything's unlocked fairly easily, and you can probably get through the game without even too much difficulty using the pea shooter. All the doors you open just by shooting them, and you just will be running against bad guys who are typically quite weak at the beginning, but as you run through the game you get stronger. Picking up these blue boxes will actually level you up and make your gun more powerful. The game works around the idea that you don't need other equipment, you'll just be powering up the equipment that you have on you. So this gun will be the only gun I'm using for this whole run, but as I go along I can get upgrades which will boost its power, and that will also increase its firing rate. If you look closely you'll see that when you shoot things there's normally sparks appearing, but I noticed that certain walls, when you shoot them the bullets go straight through. These are into secret areas. Sorry, I already picked up the money that was behind there because I've happened to have picked up a magnet power up, but you get the idea. Basically there's a lot of hidden things in this game, and it will remind you a lot of something like Serious Sam. So on first impressions I thought the game was pretty dull, but then something like this happened. I've not actually seen this boss before, but basically the bosses just have so many guns on them and are shooting so many things that things start to get a lot more hectic. Now assuming I can actually kill this guy, he will drop a power up and it will significantly improve my gun. At least that was the case the first time. This being a roguelike and randomly generated, I've got no clue what I'm going to end up with this time. But yeah, the action can get relatively frantic, and like I said, this game, though the initial impressions might be quite poor, it is, well, I think it's really trying to be Serious Sam, and that's not a bad game to try to be. Apparently I can redirect bullets. I'm not quite sure what that power up means. I'll figure that out in a moment. As you can see, visually this game is relatively bland. This is the second stage, I think it's called Gearworks, and things don't really look very different, and I'd say that that's probably one of the game's weaknesses. It is very off-putting, but I definitely think there is something to be enjoyed here. Trophy hunters on the other hand might want to beware, because apparently so far 2 trophies have been known to be glitched, and that's the ones for unlocking all perks and unlocking all guns. To me personally this game seems relatively slow, because I actually am a Serious Sam fan, so I can see what the game's going for, but it doesn't seem to be doing that great a job of mimicking what it hopes to be. When I realised that this was mostly made by one guy on his own though, I do have somewhat some sympathy for the situation, and I do actually think it is a relatively good effort. Oh, and when I'm talking about it was made by one guy, we're talking about the PC version. I'm not quite sure how if the dev team improved or was much bigger for this version of the game on the PS3 and PS4. Oh, by the way, this is the PS3 version as well. Okay, so here is what I think is going to be the second boss. I'm probably going to die here because I've not got much health coming into the room, plus I've not seen this before. I mean, the game, I will say, is worth playing, but for trophy hunters I know that most of you are going to want to wait for a patch, and it's always hard to know if these indie games that come out are ever going to get the patches, which is obviously a big problem. Hey, I died at the same time as the bad guy. Sometimes as you play you'll come across boxes like this where you can actually pay money to actually get new items, and apparently that one actually reduced my armor, which is completely unhelpful. I think these are the kind of parts that the game's going for, where with completely chaotic bullet hell areas. But what kind of bugs me is just how slow everything is. The feeling of danger really kind of is reduced drastically when the bullets coming towards you are so slow. I'm not sure if the order of the levels is randomised as well, because here this is like a lava orientated level. I've noticed that though this game is randomly generated, the levels can sometimes look the same, but enemy placements will be different. Apparently sometimes the bosses can be a little different, because this one is apparently just a big old spike room. But from what I can tell, I'm just supposed to take out that dial on the wall before I get crushed to death. It's nice to see some old school traps in here. The different guns do actually play very differently from what I've seen, because I've so far found this buzzsaw thing, an explosive gun which damages you with the bullets. I found out that the hard way. And also there is the basic pea shooter and this weird shotgun which I really didn't like at all. All in all, I'd say that this game really is, it does exactly what it says on the tin. We've got a case of a game which is called Tower of Guns. If to you that seems like a game that sounds brainless, and that was either going to make you think, yes, that's definitely what I want to play, something that's, you know, a bit more mindless and just where I can run around and start shooting things without having to think. I mean, this game doesn't even have a reload button for the gun. This is purely just meant for running around with a gun and just going nuts. I mean, you can't fault a game for delivering what it was intending to do. On the other hand, like I said, poor visuals, glitched trophies, those are things that are going to definitely put some people off. The game also refuses to hold your hand, which again is another preference choice of whether you like that or not. I mean, the thing is, I've picked up some equipment, I've just not been known how to use it, which has kind of bugged me. And unfortunately this game hasn't been popular enough yet that there's much to be found by googling. Sometimes the poor textures can work against the game as well, like for instance here, while I'm looking up I need to actually get into that gap there, but if you actually look it from down there, you wouldn't necessarily have noticed that ledge. Eventually, with the progressive nature of the game, you will get access to slightly better guns. Like here for instance, this I'm going to call it a machine gun for lack of a better term, is a starting weapon later on, and this is how it is right at the beginning. As you can see, it's a lot more powerful and looks a lot more interesting. I will say that I was very much put off by the fact that the initial gun actually looked terrible. One of the slightly cooler features is the fact that while you kill things, you get experience which levels up your gun, but on the other hand, every time you get injured, your experience for that weapon drops too. This puts you in like a constant battle of having to be cautious rather than just running through, which is what the natural instinct is for this type of game. I think some sections of the game are a complete mess, like these bits here. As you can see, the floors just keep on rising up and down like that, and you've got to somehow navigate. This one's a relatively small room which doesn't seem too bad, but I was in a huge room that was like this, and oh, actually look, this is the kind of thing you end up having to look at and get completely disorientated as you're running around. And as you can see, there's so many enemies I can't even see anything on the camera currently. And you know, I'm going to admit that some of these bits I do question exactly why they're in the game, because they're not fun. There's also a feature in the game which they call tilt, which resets you to the beginning of the room, or at least the times I've used it, that's what it seems to do. Now, I mean, I like the idea of that, because, you know, games inevitably will sometimes have the odd glitch or two, or situation where you can't get out of, but the fact that it's built into the game kind of makes me think that sometimes they're aware that they made some poor design choices which would have left you in a situation where you won't be able to get out, and that seems like pretty short-sighted development on well, to me. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit harsh there, but the main thing is, I would say, if you want some good mindless fun, Tower of Guns will be right up your alley. If you're a trophy hunter, make sure you wait for the patch. And for anyone who expects higher production values or games that involve a bit more thinking and generally look a lot nicer, then this probably isn't a game that you're going to have any fun with. I do hope that helps, so let me know if you want me to do more videos like this, and until next time guys, bye.